they're the guys that are going to get themselves on tour.
Which kind of brings me to the question: Healy, Dorian, Greg Long, Grant Baker, all of them don't really have any nominations this year. Is this a sign of the changing of the guard, or is it something where that? Yeah, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I feel like I'm the only old guy there still. No, but look, I definitely have.
You can't take away they're on the rankings.
And Twiggy's the world champion.
Yeah.
Greg's third, and Carlos, was in the final. Was in nearly every event. I just think that it is a shift. Like, things change. Twiggy's just had his little daughter Billy, and Greg's had some injuries, and I'm for sure. I think Cortez is still somewhere in the back of his mind. I don't think that will ever go away. And he's in a different. I saw the interview he did, I think with Surfline, and he's just like he's not 20 anymore, and he doesn't want to be that guy that he doesn't have to be on every swell, whereas these other guys are those guys 10 years ago,
Probably don't beat yourself up as much when you miss a swell.
When you miss a swell, yeah. Like the year that last nice day in February when I was running safety and my leg was dodgy, and I mean it was the hardest thing I've done so far. Like, that's the first real swell that I've missed. Like that I could have went, I could have pushed it, but I was like somehow put myself back, which is pretty rare for me. So,
good for you.
But it felt good. But yeah, look. Don't get me wrong. there's always this. Okay, now it's the shift. Watch next year, all those guys will come out and win everything. I mean, but there is it's changed. Like Greg, you see it. Even like Twiggy's comments and about Nazare after the contest and stuff. A few little things that just made me like go, wow, okay, like those guys aren't quite like they were 10 years ago. As in like just needing to be at every swell. I think they're comfortable with it, but and I think as long as they're comfortable with it and they're happy with that, I think it's fine. But like guys like Dorian and like he's a Jaws guy now, really, when you think of it. He's not really at Mavs anymore. He's not he's chasing it anymore, and he's Shane Dorian. He doesn't really need to, right? But that's the shift, and you got these young kids that are just hungry and fit and working on surfing different boards and different styles and approaching waves differently. And I think it's awesome. I think that it probably only fires up those guys a little bit too. Stirs the belly when we're talking about it like this. So yeah.
And talk about the young guys. You've got Lucas Shianka Chumbo, who pretty much came on just this year. Literally has been on every swell. And
literally never heard of the guy.
Yeah.
I think I may have seen him the year before, like here and there.
Well, he spent some time at Porto. He's actually been on the QS. He's actually a pretty good surfer.
Yeah.
He's a great surfer in small waves, but obviously taking that to the big wave realm. You got Francisco Portela, who focused directly on Jaws for all those years and went to the North Shore, but now went obviously to Nazare during those swells, and then Trevor Carlson, who's another one who's been chasing swells.
Well, I think the funny thing was Francisco's a fun example because I thought he blew it earlier in the season. I think I spoke to you about it. I was like, we were in October. I was in Nazare for a month with the family, or 2-3 weeks, and we had an amazing run of swell, like from 2 to 3 foot strutty style waves to 6 foot off the corner point, 12 feet 15, and then that giant day, all offshore glassy. And he was around, I think, for maybe the press conference and this and that, and then he left, and I was like, Franny, like that was his chance to like potentially get himself into the contest, or start the season on a good note, and then so he left that and missed that, and then we went straight from there into that run of swell in November. It was like 4 days and a week, and then he was in California like 3 days before that, and then went to Maui, and I was sort of like, whoa, dude, like you just sort of. I felt like he'd nearly blown it, But then he came on strong at the second half of the year and went gangbusters and got the giant one on the last day. And I guess sometimes...
Which was a day, in my opinion, was probably not really a surfable day.
God, no.
I mean, you were there, right?
Yeah, I was there. We were the first ones in the water. Me, Garrett, Hugo, Cotty. And we went out and just was like... I just went, nah. I have no intention of surfing this right now. I've never seen so much water moving. It nearly felt like if you're on a ski, like you'd just fall into the bottom of the ocean and never come back.
Well, there is a pretty deep
like
canyon
it was just
there.
sink. You know what I mean? There was just so much water. It was like a tsunami. You know, it was just there was no
rhyme or reason.
No make of it. No, you know what I mean? Like we push ourselves really hard, but there's like you're like, okay, there's a chance I can make it. This and that. I just looked at me. I was like a Hail Mary. You know, and so we were all coming in, and Franny, Francisco, and Axie were heading out. They're like, is it surfboard? And I just went, I don't think so. We're going in, you know. And all of a sudden, like we went in, you know, flushed the skis, blah blah blah, up having lunch, and then walked back down to the bluff at about literally just missed Francisco's wave, like watching it from the cliff, and someone said someone just got 100-foot wave, you know, like a giant wave, and I'm like, oh wow, and then I found out that it was Francisco, and then I saw was it Scooby's wave where then Lucas coming on the ski, get him, and the bang bam ski right. I mean, I saw all that just right in front of me, and then like, so you know there was obviously there was some makeable waves, but out of the whole scheme of thing, you know, we went back out in the afternoon. That's cleared back up a little, like cleaned up a little bit. I got one wave, and I kicked out. I'm like, I'm done.
Nazare.
Yeah, you know what I mean, like, and then so, but yeah, it was pretty radical.
Well,
day.
you won the first event at Nazare, and what do you feel like Nazare is bringing to the big wave world? I mean, Garrett introduced it, at least to me, and I'm sure he introduced you at the same time. He's like, yeah, there's this wave in Portugal, and you know, thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, Garrett, yeah, cool, we'll check it out someday. You know, thinking to myself that it, you know, and then all of a sudden we started seeing images out of there. Then the WSL kind of and the folks from Portugal said, hey, you know, let's do an event there, and sure enough, I was going forward with it.
Yeah.
You won the event there. One of the most challenging events ever surfed.
Yeah.
Would you back that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've had like, you know, like say, you know, when guys like Damien Hobgood and stuff say it's the gnarliest contest hands down in the history of the sport, you know, like, and you know, like, but I look back and I go, it was gnarly, but like for me, when that contest was, I was like, this is my sort of contest. You know, like
endurance.
Yeah, I was like, you're gonna have to paddle a lot, position yourself. I knew that it was gonna, like any spot. I asked the local guys at Piahi, you know, like if you've been there and you've surfed it, it's one of those spots where, yeah, Mavericks and that you can like go out and like sort of look where you're sitting and go, I'm gonna sit where Pete is. You know, Nazare's not quite like that. You know, there is a method to the madness. You know, you can go and sort of float around, but it's not like I'm just going to sit near him and I'm going to get a wave. It's not like that. So I knew that there's going to be a lot of paddling, you know, shifting, and then what a lot of people don't know is you've really got to be in under it. You know, you've really got to be willing to cop one on the head to get the really good ones, and that's sort of pretty intimidating at times to do that out there.
It'd be very intimidating.
Yeah, so, but my best ones were like when, you know, you saw the guys were always trying to get scratch in from outside, and I was like, you know, 10, 15 feet, and I was, you know, just go. So, but I think it's like an amazing event for the tour because, you know, it's like the CT. It's like, you know, you've got perfect waves, you know, at Chopu and Pipe and this and that, and sometimes you got to go, you're going to Brazil or you're going to, you know, the Gold Coast where it's not always perfect, you know. You could be surfing D-Bar, you could be surfing onshore, this and that. So I think that to be a world champion, you got to be good in all conditions, right, and be challenged. And I think Nazare was one of the most, like you said, the most challenging events we've ever had.
It sure was. I mean, just from witnessing it and actually my experiences out there myself, like, you're right. It's an endurance event, and not only that, because you're just finding the waves and having to roam the lineup, but also it's nonstop, right? It's nonstop. Once you come in and get picked up, it's still.
Well, I mean, I tell you, every time I go somewhere where I haven't seen people I've known, I mean, not even say hello. They're like, "How was that Nazare thing you got?" You know what I mean? It's just, it's still to this day. Like the other day, I went to dinner somewhere, and they just like, "Man, how was that contest? So you guys are like, that was unbelievable." Like. They weren't even talking about the surfing. They're like, how's the jet skis, like this and that. And then I think that's really a big part of it. You know, the whole jet skis, the drama from start to finish. And
it's a good show.
Yeah, it's a good show. And you know, there was some a little bit of like, you know, is it too dangerous? You know, are we putting it, you know, is it unnecessary risk? It's like, well, duh. You know what I mean? Like, we're big wave surfers, you know. It's like, so
it's all unnecessary risk.
Yeah, you know. So I mean, I don't think that you or the surface rep is going to put us out into something where it's like, all right, there's a 50-50 chance here we're going to die. you know, like it's that gnarly. I mean, like, you know what I mean?
I think Jaws can do that too.
Yeah, Jaws, like that, the first Jaws contest when it's 30 miles offshore, I mean, that was pretty damn, like look what happened to, you know, Mark Matthews and, you know,
right before the event.
Yeah.
The tour, like how important do you think the tour is right now to big wave surfing?
I think big wave surfing potentially without the tour would just be probably where it was, still pretty stagnant. Like, you know, maybe we'd have the, you know, the events that Gary had put together and that were like, you know, like when Healy won Todos and no prize money and Greg's putting his own money into it and stuff like that, you know, which is not really feasible. But to have the WSL behind it, you know, like, you know, I came into the tour just at the tail end of like the transition, and I remember, yeah, I explained the way I slowly got myself on tour. I remember I was on Maui. I called you when the Punta Galea contest just before Christmas, about 3 years ago, and yeah, just call Gary, see what's going on. And I called Gary, goes, Jamie, I can't guarantee you anything. He goes, but there are a lot of people that maybe aren't going to go, and so if you want to turn up, you can turn up. And like, it's a long flight. I mean, I was in Maui,
no guaranteed
flying boards, no
like
guarantee. You're going to flying into Spain. But I went, you know what, this is what I want. And I flew over, got on the event, made the semis. Then they had a Todos, they had a Nelscott event late in the season, and they gave me a start in that because of that. And I made the semis. Then the next year I finished. Then I ended up finishing equal 11th. Got on tour, you know, and then I fell off. And then I realised that that's when we're like, hey, we're going to do the WSL. You know, that's how it's going to be done. And I was like, okay. And I remember specifically being, okay, I am on a mission this year. Like I was in Oregon when Pipe Masters was on. I'm like, I'm going to Oregon. Like no one's even looking at Oregon Swell. And I was up there and scored insane waves, 15, 18 feet perfect. And felt like for me that was just that little like, you know, like I was like, okay, I'm ahead of these guys already. Yeah. You know, like now I just got to keep it rolling.
Kind of explain that though. I mean, this is what your strategy was because you're off tour, knowing that you have the Surfline Performance of the Awards, allowing you 4 spots on tour. Like, you just said that's what I'm focused on.
Yeah, that's my goal. I was like, and not just to be at every swell, but you got to go there. You got to go there and get not just a good way. You got to go there and stand out. You know, like and that's
Surfline's going to put an article up. Are you going to have a photo in it?
Yeah, you know, like so, and then
get the biggest one.
Yeah, and you know, I had a lot of people like, you know, like guys like Scooten and Franny and all those guys are like, and I said, hey guys, I said, it's like I like to say, it's like what Dana White says, the UFC, don't leave it to the judges.
Yeah,
knock them out. And I felt like that year, there was no way that
you're going to be denied.
You guys could deny me. You know what I mean? Like, you know but I like that's what I wanted.
It was everybody though. That's the thing.
I know.
Just so you understand, everyone can understand that those awards are voted on by all of the surfers, the peers, and you know people that understand.
Yeah, but that's why. Like I just wanted to go. You know what? There's no way they can't say that I tried my best. I was at each swell and was consistently getting, not maybe the best wave of the day or the biggest wave of the day, but I was getting waves that were noticed. You know, and for me especially, like you know. Getting and making them and getting better at it, you know, because at the start I was pretty much known as just getting big ones and getting them destroyed.
You're resilient.
Yeah, you know, but again, you know, hey.
And then now also.
So yeah, but you know, so I you know I tell those guys, you know, and like I said to Tom Lowe, and I said to him 6 months ago, and I said, Tommy, I said, think of it as a small business, you know, like if I want to start a business and you know I've got to invest. Like I got to invest some money to do my lawn mowing business. I got to buy mowers. I got to spend 20 grand and go into debt, right? and I said, hey, if this is what you really, really want, and you back yourself and you believe in yourself, go into debt, 20 grand. You know, go do it. Get on tour. Potentially have the money to go and win an event, blah blah, make a few things and get that money back, and then all of a sudden you're in the game. You know, I mean, it's just, and I guess it just depends on how much you really want it and how much you're willing to go for it, you know, and back yourself. But, you know, it's, from my experience, I was just like, I just really wanted to get on, you know, so that for me, it was just a one-track mind of being at every swell and trying to be on it.
Goals for next year?
World champ.
That's it.
Well, you know, and I wouldn't have said that last year, you know, and I'm still learning so much, but Nazare's obviously given me a huge amount of confidence. I was super bummed at Jaws. I was in that first heat and it just was like horrible, but I learned a lot too. I went away super frustrated, and then my partner Cassie goes, well, like what you're so angry. She's like, I don't want to come to the event if you're gonna be like this, because I was salty, up in the competitors area all day, and she's
it's a missed opportunity. So.
Yeah, it was a missed opportunity, but I walked away from it, and I was like, I do want to do this, and this is part of the learning process. Like I saw Josh Kerr was in my heat, and I knew, and I saw him going on the inside, and he got his 2, and I was like, and I just still was like too proud to go in there, and that's it, But at the end of the day, who's talking about the first heat now? They're talking about the final with the 6 guys, So it's just a learning process for putting together better heats, and that started from Todos the year before, where I got off my board with missed the second wave to get in the final. Porto Escondido, 10, 9 in the heat, killed it. Went out the next day, 1 wave, took my hands off 2 seconds after the heater again, and I just was like, and then I did it in Jaws again, and I'm like, that's 3 times, 3 strikes and you're out, and I was like, you're never ever going to do that to yourself again, So
how are we doing on time, guys? We good for? Just as a reminder to anyone who's watching too, that we're going to take a bit of a break and come back. So it's a perfect time to put in some questions. We'll review some questions too. So ask Jamie or myself. That'd be awesome. I think we have a half hour on, right? We got times, guys? Help me out. Yeah?
Yeah, we got half hour.
Half hour, so we're still going. More.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. All right, well, never mind then. Ask me questions anyway, though. We'll find them.
Yeah.
Big Wave Awards. Tonight, 8 o'clock Pacific Daylight Time, we're going to be doing the Big Wave Awards. Of course, that's our kind of Oscars for big wave surfing.
Yeah. Feels like it's going to be the Oscars this year too, huh? The way it's seated. It's not
I haven't seen it.
It's not tables like this where everyone's just like yelling at each other and you're like, ah. It's actually like, I think it's like rows sideways looking out and everything.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's going to be pretty cool this one.
All right. Yeah, that's a new venue.
Yeah.
Discuss some of the nominations. This Big Wave Awards. You've got the biggest paddle, which you got guys like Ben Andrews.
Yeah.
Lucas Cianca is in there. Let's see who else.
I'm in it.
You're in it.
Thanks.
That's right. Yeah. I'm sorry. I did review all these things.
Yeah.
And wait, there's 2 more. Chris Mashman.
Oh, yeah.
From Mavericks.
Mavericks. Yeah.
There's one more. Trevor.
Trevor
from Carlson from Nazare as well.
Nazare as well, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, what are your thoughts on all that besides voting for yourself?
Yeah.
What are the biggest waves that you see in that?
It's hard, because
it's about a photo, right? So that's the thing too, is that the photo specifically.
It's the one photo, right?
It's a photo, right?
And you know what you got? I think as the athletes and the surfers, I think we've got to get their heads around that. It's like it is subjective. People's opinions are different.
Yep.
What people see, it's different. What people get excited about when they see is different. So, but one thing I think this year's super is that there's no real clear winner in anything. Because for me personally, I was like, oh, Francisco's biggest wave, but I've been studying it now, and I've seen Hugo's and Sebastian's, and I've seen a couple of angles there, and I'm like, holy shit, things look giant. You know what I mean? And but it's like so again, when you're dissecting it, I don't think it's not as clear cut as it may seem. But cool cool things like the biggest paddle. I'm the only one that's won that division that's in it this year. So there's potentially going to be a new winner.
Guys.
The Ride of the Year, new winner.
Yep.
Dorian's won it 30 years in a row. So
Yep.
And then you've got the biggest wave. A couple of, Sebastian's been in it before. He's won a couple of times. And you got Hugo, Franny's wave, Kai's waves from Jaws. And is there another one? Are they all from
Nazare?
All Nazare, right?
One Jaws. Yeah.
All Nazare, one Jaws.
So it's Hugo, Sebastian, Francisco.
Trevor again too.
Trevor and the Jaws wave from
Canada. And then so that, and a big thing is I think is the overall performance, that's one that I'm really interested in, because I feel like I done, how do you do that? Is it just Lucas and Franny have done really well, but they weren't in the contest?
Yep.
I done pretty well, but I done well in the so you don't know how it's going to be done, right? And then So
and that one's pulled, like there's 100 or so on the email list.
Yeah.
That are all emailed us and asked those questions. So you're looking at a poll of a pretty big field.
Pretty big field,
So again, all those opinions determining who won that overall performance, which is a big deal, right? I mean,
it is a big deal.
It's a chance to be on tour for
totally, yeah. Well, I think when you look at it,
but also Ride of the Year is on that same group.
Yeah, Ride of the Years, Billy.
Wipeout is also in that same group.
Yeah, so I think it is a big shift this year. Like it's this all these new brigades with a twinkle of older guys still in there, and but I think it's super exciting. And like I said, like last year, Aaron Gold's like biggest wave was sort of like
slam dunk.
You sort of, you know what I mean? Like it was. You're like, well, it's.
We always start dissecting it, and you start looking at it. It starts to feel a little bit different, but generally, overall vibe, you're like, that's.
Yeah, but this year I feel like it's like honestly, I feel like Ride of the Year, like you could just be like I have no idea.
Yeah.
I really don't. Like Billy's wave at Jaws, awesome, but in the scheme of Jaws waves, it's not epic, right? After what's happened, you know, my wave at Porto, you know, like technical and stuff like that, not a giant wave. Ben Andrews' wave at Mavericks was a special wave, right? I look at Ben's wave and go, as a Mavericks wave,
that was special. Yeah.
That was a special wave. So then how do you like, you know, you didn't get barreled like Billy or me, and then you got Francisco's wave, toe wave, a giant wave, one of the longest waves ever ridden. Yeah. But, you know, the other guys that go at the toe wave. So, you know what I mean? Like, honestly, you just, and then Lucas's wave at Nazare, like, not giant,
Would you say that it's most important to, in that category, Ride of the Year, be, like, for me, it feels like it should be the most technically hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
Right? So you could even, letting go of a rope at Chopo, for example, and getting completely barreled on a wave that should rip you to pieces, and making that is pretty scary.
Yeah.
That's, I guess you could almost, by levels of fear, right?
Yeah.
Right? As the Ride of the Year.
Yeah, totally.
But then there's also the skill, right? There's that technical skill, not just the fact that you have the balls to take off on a wave.
Yeah.
But actually ride.
Yeah, no, and that's like not trying to say I'm going to win the idea or anything, but like, my wave at like I from the moment I took off at Mexico, I didn't think I was going to make that wave. Yeah. So for me, like I was super pumped to make that
heavy
wave.
drop.
Yeah, high on the big 10-2, sucked up, like and then slide back down. So but then I know, like if I'm looking at that and when I first see it, it's like it didn't wow me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then that's it. Like where's the, it's
have some wow factor.
It's a crapshoot, and I'd be interested to see. $75,000 would be really nice, but God,
you're not swaying the judges. Decision's already made
instead of 5. You know what I mean? So anyway,
what the last 5 years, what do you feel like has been the biggest change in big wave surfing?
So maybe safety, the vests, and just I think the vests and think how we look at it. Maybe look at safety. Like we're trying to the jet skis and going with crew and this and that. And I think it's still so far away from how good it could be. But I think safety's got to the next level because that's another great talking point. People go, yeah, but like I think it was even last night I was having dinner with somebody. They're like, yeah, but back in the day with Pete and all that, and all those guys, they weren't wearing vests. I'm like, yeah, but what we're paddling these days,
it's a different skill.
Yeah, and
I was watching footage of our sessions from back those days. And you didn't have vests, you didn't have skis, you didn't take as big a risk.
Totally.
Right. So.
And I think you guys made a lot more waves, and you were more and there was less crowd, so you didn't have to feel like you had, like that Chris Mashburn's wave, like when I saw it's a weird angle how they've got his one, but you just see that thing rifle like through the inside. But
it's a perfect wave.
But like he may have been out there for 5 hours. He's been frustrated, and he's like turning and burning because I think
it was the opposite. I think he had just got.
Oh really? Yeah.
Yeah, it was more like he just paddled.
Just got out. Yeah.
Him and the wipeout.
Oh yeah, that Willem Banks. Yeah.
They literally had paddled out.
And are those kids what, like 19 or 20?
Yeah, they're young.
Yeah. Thank God.
Well, and again, so does flotation? Do you feel like give you that opportunity? And is it reckless, or is it something where, is it needed?
Yeah.
Like, and how do you police it?
Yeah. I think it,
or don't.
I think it'll be. I think it'll police
right
itself. You know, you look at that Willem Banks, so that could have been a career-ending, well, life-ending wipeout when you see that one. But you know what? You know, I don't know Willem Banks. I don't know these young kids. They could be out there training harder than anyone. Yeah. They might be free divers, and they might be like, well, okay, let's get rid of the vest. I'll still be out there.
Is that more important than anything, you think?
The self-safety,
the cross training.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you're just relying on the vest, like we've all said, and it malfunctions, you've got to be able to still deal with it. You know, so I think that you've got to, you know, if you want to be in the game for a long time, and be consistent and be able to survive it and do all that, you need to be training. You know, and then and for me, I think later down the track, for me, it's been just mentally prepared, mentally in good places, and I think that helps as well. But for the young kids these days, they should be out training, you know, like whatever it may be that suits them, but they've got to be doing something, you know, because sooner or later it's going to fail, you know, or the jet ski's not going to be there to pick you up, or something's going to happen, you know.
How much responsibility do you put on a surfer to take care of themselves in those, you know, because I think that, you know, for example, Mavericks is a place now where you've got kind of these people, and Jaws, for that example, you got the Skull-based crew, and they're out there, and they're not going to leave anybody in the zone. They're going to go and they're going to help people. Same thing, you got Frank and the guys that are out at Mavericks, and the Mavericks Water Patrol, they're saving people. And, that expectation, you know, is it expected, or is
I think these days,
what does it do? What does I
think these days it's expected. I think it's, you know, that
is it necessary?
I think it's necessary that if you paddle out the Mavs like you guys used to, and you break your leash or break your board, well, you're swimming through the rocks and you're swimming yourself back in, right? Like, no one else come and save you. Flea's not coming over and going, hey, Pete, here's my board. Go for it.
There's buddy system a little bit. I mean,
you know,
if I were struggling, he would.
Yeah, but like...
But generally, when I broke my leash, I just swim in.
Yeah, so, and from what I see now, as soon as someone is, like, in trouble, they're just waving their hands. Yeah. Like, they're just trying to get saved, you know, and which is human nature, but I think that, you know, I think it's a tough one.
There shouldn't be an expectation.
Yeah, but that last Mavericks, there's the last Mavericks, well, like, there was Frank and myself, like, I was still injured, and I was, you know, I must have went through the rocks like 6 times getting people, and, you know, done all those rescues, and I feel like
keeping the lineup clogged up.
That's what I'm saying, but that's the thing. I feel like, okay, if these guys are on their own, like, they're done. You know, like, after half a day, that, like, the lineup might be empty. You know, unless you got the, you know, I've got a ski. We work together, and we have our crew, and it's like, I want to look after them, you know, paid money, time, effort to do all this, and it's like, well, these guys are getting it for nothing, and like I think there should be at the IPA or the IPL big bowl.
That's a Princeton Landing in Half Moon Bay.
Princeton Landing,
the meeting point in Half Moon Bay.
Yeah, I think that there's
the bar.
Yeah, the bar. I think there should be some sort of big thing, and you got to, you know, if you've been out there that day and you're driving past, you should roll in there and drop $50, $20, whatever it is that you feel is like worth your life, or, you know, to do that and to help fund like these guys to keep doing it. I know that they've started the water patrol thing, this and that, but I'm still skeptical on how that, like, people just on the GoFundMe give $20, right? And they're like, I'm good now. I'm good for the year. Like, that's not really fair, I don't think.
Here's my thoughts on it. So if you put in the time and energy, for example, I show up there, I'm going to have a ski. I'm going to have a guy who's going to be doing safety for me or my crew that I'm there with. I'll have a boat. Like, I put that, you know, money and that deposit into that.
It's a lot of money.
And if a situation were to happen, it's like almost like maritime law in a way. Like, if a situation were to happen and a guy is really and genuinely hurt, you're going to help. You're going to save me. You know, that's the
human
rule.
nature.
But you're not going to go in every time.
No.
And you're not going to break, you know, if a guy, you know, gets washed. If he starts waving and screaming, you go and you save somebody because they're in a situation they need help. Not every time. You go out there, you don't have your safety, then you've got to deal with the repercussions.
Yeah, totally. But then, you know, and then how is that? But then I feel, there's also feel like, well, this guy's looking at you to go in. I'm like, well, no, I'm watching my buddy. If he goes down here and I'm getting you,
it's what happened to Io. You know? I mean, to Sion Molosky. Yeah. When he passed away, there was a moment where, you know, the ski went in and he wasn't being watched, and stuff happens. It happens really quickly.
Really fast, yeah. So it's you know, I think it's a great I think it's a great round table discussion.
Yeah.
On that whole subject itself, maybe with a bunch of guys, that would be a really cool thing to try and nut out how to move forward, you know.
And I guess if you're going to look at surfing as a whole, hierarchy and stories and how things work and how the rules are is generally done by the elders.
Yeah.
And so you kind of, it's our responsibility as the elders to kind of show how it's done.
Yeah, you know, those young kids that are 16, 17 and they're paddling out, and it's like, that's awesome, you know, you guys are studs in that. Yeah, but you know what, like, go out and then maybe it's, you know, might in that long run help them be better surfers too, because they'll be picking better waves. Yeah. You know, blah blah blah. So, but yeah, I think it's a really good discussion point. I don't think right now it's still not anywhere close to probably being where it should be. As in, like, you know, the skull-based guys, you know, like, God, they're so busy at Jaws, you know, like, and same thing, like, they go get someone that's really hurt and they have to, and then Ian goes but down on the next wave and like.
But like, for an example, if I'm going to go surf Jaws and I know I'm going to be paddling out, like, I'm going to call those guys.
Yeah.
And either ask, hey,
what do I do?
Well, yeah, can I be a part of your deal?
Yeah.
If that's cool. If I'm not going to have the expectation to get picked up.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to contribute to being part of that team.
Totally.
And helping.
Yeah, here's a couple $100. Just make sure I don't need you, like. But if I'm in real trouble, zoom in, get me in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it kind of should be. In my opinion, that's how it should be set up. There shouldn't be just an expectation, and that's a responsibility also of the water patrol to not just go in every time.
Yeah.
And set a precedent.
Yeah.
Again, big long discussions. This is one opinion. You're another opinion, and I'm sure there's several other opinions as well. So. Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yep. So we got 5 minutes left here.
Yeah.
So again, I think we're gonna be wrapping it up here. Like, let's real quick in this 5 minutes. Like, what do you see the future, and where is there other spots to be found, or is there other boundaries to be broken? What?
Yeah.
We talk this every year, but it's kind of nice to.
Yeah, I think new waves nearly have to be in the mix. They're out there, but it's hard to walk away from a good Jaws or a good Maverick swell to go somewhere else. But yeah, they're out. I mean, look at the Canaries and stuff like that. You know, around that area, I've been seeing some footage of some big waves. You know, that is sort of just the locals.
So the Atlantic, you think there's still some opportunities?
I think the Atlantic has got some real big opportunities. You know,
like even in the Northeast, like in those zones, Nova Scotia maybe, or.
Yeah, so
I think the poles. You get into that colder water, you start to see there's.
Yeah, I think that's where people are like, I don't want. Yeah, it's too cold and stuff. But yeah, I think finding new big waves would be an amazing thing. But I just think that I think the young kids these days, the future. I mean, I think they're gonna be just going bigger, harder, smaller equipment, maybe more new material. But maybe it's the boards. You know, maybe I think it's the boards, materials, how to paddle bigger waves with smaller boards. Like, I still think like the left at Mavericks is still like wide open to get some mental waves, but with the equipment doesn't allow it right now, you know. So are we going to see someone out there on a 7.6 knifing 20-foot backdoor the left, you know? So
I'd like to see it.
I mean,
I don't know if you do
backside, I don't want anything to do with it, but you know,
all those goofy foots out there.
But like, you know, Cole, Chumbo, and Healy. I mean,
Lucas.
They got a pretty sick one this year.
Shianka is his, you know, and again, Chumbo is his nickname, so his real name's Lucas Shianka.
Shianka, yeah.
He's from Rio, but he knifed some lefts.
Yeah.
He was going for it. I mean,
yeah. So I think Cole knifed a pretty good one that day, and I saw Healy get one the day. I think Colin Dwyer was going right, and Healy went left. So yeah, maybe the approach. Maybe that's the approach of big waves is what the future is holding. You know, not you know. So, but I'm excited to see it. You know, maybe try and keep up with those kids too, and push yourself and that. But yeah, I mean, bigger. I think Mother Nature has the last say on how it progresses, right? Because you get giant swells, but other conditions gonna allow you to push it to that limit. You know.
Do you believe in climate change?
Yeah. Yeah. So
I was gonna say, is that gonna change anything?
Maybe. I mean, just consistent El Niños every year.
Yeah.
We'd all be like, our careers would be cut short in like 5 years.
What's the biggest danger? In big wave surfing? I'm not saying what I mean, we all know what the ultimate risk is, but like, what is the biggest danger? Is it crowds? Is it the level? Is it?
No, I think I think it's potentially that. Well, you don't get hurt if you don't take waves, basically. So, I think being pushed into positions and trying to get waves in spots you don't particularly want to take off on, but sooner or later you have to get a wave and do this and that. And I think just taking waves that aren't necessarily the ones, but because of the crowds and where you get positioned and hustled to is that. So I think that's obviously pretty dangerous. And you see some. I still think the drop in thing is a big subject too. Like just seeing guys in the spot that send 4 guys on the shoulder and stuff like. And I'm baffled that there still haven't been too many boards to the head and people knocked out or seriously hurt from just that. And
I'm trying to think, someone got injured recently.
Yeah, Russell Bjerk at 2 Mile.
You didn't just say that.
Yeah, I'm over it. 2 Mile.
But I mean, that was a situation where if there wasn't safety there, he probably would have.
Well, apparently the ski didn't even see him. And Hippo apparently just looked back enough to like
catch it,
to just see him. 2 waves go down, and they went in and got him, and then luckily enough, the surf club there was doing a medical day.
Are you kidding?
And then the lady walking along the beach was a nurse, and then they had the oxygen and everything like right there. I mean,
sorry.
Just one of those
perfect storm.
One of those things, and he had and look, if you look at Hippo, he's been at like Aaron Gold's one, like
he's the angel.
Yeah, well, he's the angel. He's the guy you don't want to go on a surf trip with.
That's not nice.
No, I was actually talking to him on the phone about going that well, and I didn't. So, but you know what I mean. So, it wasn't a giant wave. It just the board just.
That's what I'm saying. Like I feel like that's we've seen injuries from the reef. From the wave. You mean your wipeout was all wave, right? You never hit the bottom.
Yeah, no, it was the impact of going over with the lip, and
it just ripped you to pieces.
Ripped me in pieces. Yeah,
and you're a strong man.
Well, yeah. So I think crowds definitely play a huge part in what's going on. So
I think we're pretty much there, huh?
Come back and
so we're coming back. Cool. Well, yeah. So we're not going anywhere. We will be right back. And get some questions. You gotta go to the restroom. We'll be right back. Oh, you gotta eat?
I gotta eat, yeah.
He's gotta eat. He's gotta eat. Welcome back to Surfline One-on-One. Jamie Mitchell, Peter Mel here talking big wave. And we've been requesting questions from all the viewers on Surfline Instagram and Facebook. And we've got a couple doozies here.
Yeah, we do.
Pretty easy ones. First, start off, we've got Fabiano Rosar.
The age-old question.
Been asked before.
It's been asked before.
What is your opinion?
My opinion is I'm a warm water guy. Love my trunks and warm water. So for me, putting in a wetsuit, going to Mavericks has always been like that extra bit harder. And the cold water, the sharks. Man, it's hard. I've had my worst wipeouts at Mavericks. So for me, and then there's these, and it's not even like, and you'll know, it's like even if you fall on the bowl, like it's nearly not that one, it's that second roll in under the, and you go down deeper, and there's just something about that reef that's messed up. You know, and then you get two, and then you're through the rocks, and the rock, yeah, it's a, you know, Nevaeh.
Hi, honey. I think you're watching.
Hope I win for some more diapers for the second kid.
When's that? When's
She August, September.
she?
Oh no, we don't know, but
Don't know.
I'm guessing it's a she. I think it's a she.
All right, we're live.
Two girls for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jamie Mitchell's going to have 2 girls and a shotgun. So Fabiano Rosa asked the question, what's crazier? You had mentioned Mavericks or Jaws, and just to, I guess, kind of reiterate.
Yeah, I didn't really get into how gnarly Jaws is too. I mean, it you know, you jump off the rocks, you might not even get out, and then, I mean, Jaws, the volume of water and where you can get caught there too. It's a really hard, it's a really tough question. I think it's just really comes down to personal preference, you know? Like, I feel a bit more comfortable at Jaws, you know? So,
I mean, for me, I think that Jaws, actually, the wave itself is more dangerous, but the spot at Mavericks is actually more dangerous because...
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, there's more grunt and the top to bottom, that kind of thing. If you're in the worst possible spot at Jaws, you could easily have... It feels like you could have your body
you just everything would be
just
limbs
a
gone.
bag of bones.
Yeah.
And Mavericks, I think, is more dangerous because obviously the biggest danger for surfing is being held down or drowning, and that spot has such an uneven reef that your chances of having a really long hold down are exponentially more.
I had a 2-wave hold down on a 12-foot day.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and then you got to look at Mark Fu, Sion. You know, there's a reason that happened, right? You know, so I think it's they're both gnarly.
And there's probably been more injuries at a place like Jaws.
Yeah.
Knees, shoulders.
Yeah, it's funny you say. You don't really see people limping out of Mavericks too much with like, you know.
It's the hold downs, the psychological.
It's
hold downs.
Psychological warfare, and then like that like Deej. I just watched that their movie the other day, Nervous Laughter.
Nervous Laughter.
And if they're watching, boys, good job. It was
well done.
It was made me pumped, and thanks for putting the wave of mine on there too. I was pretty stoked. My first ever part in the movie.
Yeah. Mandy Eric Chance had your favorite wave, I guess, of all the big waves. Do you have a favorite?
Well, I do. It's Mavericks and Jaws.
Those are the two that get you the most.
They're the two that really. I mean, and it's weird. Like it's nearly. I feel like that Mavericks had we had the contest for so long, the Mavericks, and so for me, like I'd really spent a lot of time trying to get into the contest, you know. And so like I spent a lot of energy and time there, and I started to feel really like I felt like I could pad out the Mavericks and get good quality waves, you know, like whereas Jaws, it's still like it's a little harder to get those
good ones,
those really good ones. And I'm not sure why that is. Maybe but I mean Jaws, if you look at how can you say that wave is just so the
perfect,
biggest perfect wave in the world, you know. But there's something about sitting at Mavericks in the bowl, holding your ground, and then turning and burning. You know, it takes everything tippy toes, and if you kick out of one like that, it's just like wow, you know. But then you get a Shane Dorian North peak into the West Bowl, backdoor that thing, you get kicked out. It's like the way of your life as well. So, yeah, those two ways. You know, I don't know, I've got to keep going. Nazare's a favourite now too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but,
Okay, TJ Schaub is asking. He's asking me, I guess, in a sense of Pete, are there any other ways you would want to consider adding to the tour, which is not my responsibility anymore?
Snips.
But I mean, I think that if you were to add a wave to the tour, it would be pretty obvious that Mavericks would be one of those events you'd love to see.
God, 100%. It needs to be on tour. I mean, to have 4 contests and that one to go, and Mavericks has been pretty much the most consistent contest of all time, right? If you look at the numbers, and even when they haven't run, there's been days I think that they could have run, but just certain things have stopped them from running. You know, so they nearly could have run like
every year.
Yeah,
I know,
right?
you pretty much could ever run every year.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of ways, right? You could do, but logistics and everything else. But I feel like we need more waves. We need more waves on tour.
Just spread the crowds out.
Yeah. The Mavericks is the
one
easy
that's
answer.
obvious,
Yeah, obvious answer.
Yeah. Linda Morant, who is asking, how do you train to hold your breath and for big hold downs?
I really don't, to be honest with you. I swam my whole life. You know, like I have like when I was training for Molokai a lot, like I had all these tests done, and I'm actually lucky. I was born with like extra sized lungs. And
for your size or just in
just
general?
Well, in general, they tested everything. Like I've got a bigger heart than I
knew that.
Yeah. but that was lucky, and I think asthma as well had a big part to play of my young age, like it helps your diaphragm and everything. So when they were testing me VO2 maxes and all that sort of stuff, they just said, hey, like for what you do, you got lucky, you know. And but not to say you can't do that. I still swim a lot in the summertime in Waimea and stuff. Do some things, and when I'm really into it, like me and Healy have gone out, we do some rock running and back and forth stuff and that. But the biggest thing for me, honestly, these days is just it's the mental side of it. Just like being able to be okay, and I think that's what gets me. I've gone into swells like unprepared. Not as good as I'd love to be, but my mind was still in the game, and you can get away with it. So, but swimming, cardio. There are that Wim Hof and all that stuff now. Brian McKenzie and all those guys, like they do have these breathing methods, and you can get really into it. I just haven't delved into it as much as I probably should have. But for me personally, like the amount of training I've done over the years, I'm pretty comfortable where I'm at with where I need to be and potentially how long I'll need to hold my breath.
Cool. Tony Nersasian, who is a sports psychologist.
Ooh. Was he going to say we're idiots?
No, he's not. What do you think it takes mentally, since you're talking about being mentally, to be an accomplished big wave surfer? What is it? What is that hurdle?
Experience, confidence. I think, speaking from my experience, like I never used to sleep before swallows. I was always that, like, what's it doing, this and that, what boards, and by the time you get to the swallow, you're exhausted, and that can drain you and everything like that. So like for me now, I've just learned to let a lot of things go and just relax into the swell and just be calm, and so for me, it's all like it's just being mentally in a good place, and that comes from like home life. Yep. Like being good, walking out the door, being good with the family, making sure that there's no drama in your life and stuff like that, because I previously I've had that when I've left certain times and things haven't been good at home and stuff, and your mind is not on the job, your mind's on all these other things.
And it affects your performance in a way you would probably even steer yourself to the safe zone, right? Rather than putting yourself in
I think everyone can say, like, if things aren't good in your personal life, like
it affects everything.
It affects everything. And then if you're going out to surf big waves and you're worrying about when I get home and my bags are packed or stuff like that, like it's going to affect your surfing, So I think just being in a good frame of mind and just being at peace, I think really for me has really helped.
Yeah, I mean, in my experience, it's very similar. Like,
yeah,
I was very fortunate in that I didn't have an issue like freaking out over sleep and all of that.
Yeah.
I've been able to sleep through it, but I agree that if you're not, 100% feeling like you're in that zone,
Yeah.
then you're not going to
Yeah.
be able to put yourself in those situations,
but-
and it's probably best not to.
Not to, yeah. But even there's days where you go into it thinking you're in the zone,
Yeah.
and then just little
Doesn't work.
Something. It just takes something to get off axis. Could be a interaction with someone in the water, that snap and it just gives you that little bit of like, oh man, like he just drained that. Drain that good energy out, but I think you've got to be aware of that. I think you've got to, understand, when you know that's happened, then how do you react to that? Because then usually most of those times when you're like, I should go in, one more wave, that one last wave, I tore my MCL. How many times has that happened to people? So
I think
gotta
it's with any sport or competition it's very similar. But I think there's surfers that are comfortable surfing big waves, and that's what lights the fire.
Yeah.
And then there's surfers that they don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
And I love I'm going to use it.
Yeah.
You can't turn an eagle into a chicken.
Yeah.
A chicken into an eagle.
A chicken into an eagle.
Sorry, Laird, I screwed that one up.
Yeah.
But that's kind of it. Right?
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you kind of just you want it, right?
Well, yeah, and you and the guys that you see them, the guys that come out and then they force it, bad wipeout, then it's like
You don't see me in.
done, right? And you most of the big guys, you really got to want it, like the big days, like the legit big days. There's a handful of guys that, if it's all coming to you, and
they're gonna go.
There's certain guys.
There's actually a separation even from.
Yeah.
Right.
It gets there's 10, there's 5, and there's a couple when the one comes and people's eyes are lighting up and everyone else is paddling out and they're like.
And I think that varies from day to day too, though.
And that varies on how you're going into a session too, right? Are you 100%? Is everything awesome and
everything good at home?
Yeah, Aaron Gold that day, he just knew. He had this feeling. He's like this.
This is the day.
This is the day. He knew the time he paddled out, and he literally paddled out 10 minutes, got that wave. He just knew.
It was only a one-wave session. Two-wave session.
Yeah, next one he actually got rolled on the bottom and hit his arm and that, because then we flew together to Todos, right? Because I think we had that little Todos swell maybe after Jaws or something. Did we do a WSL strike mission? Was that a strike mission day? That one? I don't know. Either way, but he got hurt more from the second one than he did the. And not that the second one would have been small, but the first one was the giant one. So,
Gary Crane, is the sponsor support and money growing in the sport, and what sponsors are stepping up? And to be honest, it's not. I think it's actually probably decreasing.
Yeah, I would say from
as far as big wave goes, just in general, sponsored surfers.
Yeah,
it's hard.
Well, totally. I am one of the lucky ones, and I'm totally honest with that. I have great support from Quicksaw and my other sponsors, but you don't see many guys with those stickers, or you might, but ones that are actually getting a paycheck each month to live. Pay for the family and the food and everything, and the travel budgets and this and that, and there's not that many.
But there's more exposure now.
There isn't, and that's the weird thing. But the surf industry is not what it was 15 years ago either. There's not this abundance of money. So, but yeah, it's tough. Look at Healy, Greg Long, Walshy. No major sponsors.
Well, I mean, Walshy's got Red Bull, but I see not from the surf industry.
They're not like a Fox or a Bill like he had, and Healy was with the practice and it was quick, but he doesn't have Greg Billabong, so and it's tough, but
any potential sponsors out there.
Yeah, and a positive frame of mind. I think it's I think big wave surfing has the potential to just really bring in some big sponsors, and I think the value of what I always tell people, if you walk in to the airport and you sit down at the bar, and you got baseball, tennis, WSL at Trestles, and Piahi or Nazare, I go, I guarantee you, 95% of those people
Maybe a fix to
are
that.
watching the big wave surfing, right? So I think that's just a cool analogy of like just general like what attracts people to what we're doing. You know, it's the car wrecks, it's the fear of God. It's like people can see a 2-foot wave and maybe appreciate that, but it's just not the wow factor that they have for big waves. So,
Carlo Carbajal from Maui. Jamie, what was your worst moment and your best wave of the year?
this year,
Good luck and aloha from Maui. I think he says, what's your worst moment and then your best wave of the year?
okay. Funnily enough, the best wave of the year hasn't been nominated or anything from an early session at Nazare. One of the biggest waves I've caught ever. So that was pretty cool.
And that goes to show like how
Yeah.
that it's I mean, here's your biggest wave you caught. There
Yeah.
was a photo of it, but and there's a little bit of video, but it didn't get nominated.
Yeah.
And
So, but like I said,
because of the angle and because of
you would think and I couldn't find one. Like, if, for the love of me, I couldn't find anyone that got a photo of that wave.
Yeah, so it's just a video.
It was just a video, basically, yeah. But I had a couple of good ones at Mavericks too this year that stand out. Those early sessions, nothing at Jaws. Worst moment, worst wave. What did you say? Worst moment.
Worst moment, yeah.
Worst moment.
What was your worst moment
Probably-
and your best wave of the year?
Worst moment, sitting at Jaws, needing a second wave, and just wanting to go and smash things after it. That's my worst moment.
Okay.
But
so-
the tenant, my heat at Porto was sort of like a really cool moment because my family was there too. Met me like I was walking up the beach and they were there, and I just got a 10 and 2 9s. So that was a pretty cool moment.
Okay, so your thoughts, just wrote this last question right here. Do you think that 3 events on the tour is enough? Do you think there should be more?
No, I don't think it's enough. I think the 3 waves we have are amazing waves, and they're the most consistent waves. We have the most consistent contests. But if we can get Mavericks on there, I mean, I remember talking to you. I think, and what people don't understand is the logistics and the expense behind doing big wave tour. It's just like
Yeah.
yeah.
That's why I'm not the commissioner anymore.
Yeah, but I think that we got to be smart. Like I think, for example, say Cloud Break. There's this month window that WSL's there. Why can't they send everything there like the month before that and maybe still have it there a little later? And then we have this 3-month window where if Cloud Breaks gets 15, 20 feet, why could we do Cloud Break? And that makes sense, and it makes sense and not that expensive to do that because everything's already there, So yeah, I don't know. I think that. Well, I think there also needs to be some support, like in the industry. I mean, yeah, why not? Like if we have more events, we're gonna have an opportunity to get 4 or 5 or 6 done and crown a world champion. I think there's you can't really crown a world champion off like one event, right? I mean, it feels like you need to be able to surf a few different venues to really crown a world champ, and
because anything can happen in an event.
Yeah,
right?
and Twiggy deserved that this year. Like 3 amazing events, and 3 totally different waves, and deserved world champion. So,
well, that's it.
That's
I think
it.
we're pal for now. We got the Big Wave Awards tonight, 8 p.m. WorldSurfLeague.com. You can check that
tune
out.
in. It's going to be.
Strider's hosting it, so I'm sure it'll be
No.
entertaining. Yes,
He is?
Yes, he is.
Wow. That's going to be
All
funny.
right, that's a wrap.
Just tune in for Striders.
That's a wrap from here at Surfline.